The assassination attempt on Reinhard Heydrich took place on the morning of May 27, 1942 in Prague. It was organized by agents of the Czechoslovak resistance, Josef Gabčík and Jan Kubis, as part of Operation Anthropoid, who debated from the plane. Heydrich was traveling unguarded in an open car. At the turn of Koloshovitskaya Street, the conspirators set up an ambush. Gabčík tried to fire a Sten submachine gun, but the weapon misfired. Well, let's take it in order. Is Reinhard Heydrich like that too? Reinhard Heydrich was born on March 7, 1904, in Halle, German Empire. In 1931, he became a member of the SS and soon occupied key positions in the system of National Socialist Germany. In 1934, he became the head of the Security Service, SD, and since 1939, the General Directorate of Imperial Security, RSHA, which united the Gestapo, the criminal police, and the SD. Heydrich played a crucial role in organizing mass repression, persecution, and extermination of Jews. He was chairman of the Wannsee Conference on January 20, 1942, at which the coordination of the final solution of the Jewish question was discussed. In September 1941, Reinhard Heydrich was appointed Deputy Reichsprotektor of Bohemia and Moravia. In Prague, he quickly established a regime of terror. Universities were closed, mass arrests began, and the use of the death penalty expanded. During the few months of his rule, the resistance in the protectorate was brutally suppressed. This earned him a reputation as one of the most violent representatives of the occupation administration. In the second half of 1941, after Reinhard Heydrich was appointed Deputy Reichsprotektor of Bohemia and Moravia, the Czechoslovak government in exile, headed by Edward Benes, who was in London, decided to deal a symbolic and practical blow to the occupation administration. The goal was to eliminate one of the key figures of the Nazi regime, Heydrich. This operation was supposed to be a demonstration of the strength of the Czechoslovak resistance and a reminder to the Allies of the existence of a country occupied without a formal declaration of war. The development of the plan fell on the shoulders of Czechoslovak intelligence, with the support of the British Secret Service, Special Operations Executive. The operation was given the code name Anthropoid. In addition to her, other groups were to be sent to Czechoslovakia, Silver, Outside, and others, each with their own tasks of coordinating local resistance. 2 officers of the Czechoslovak army were selected to carry out Operation Anthropoid: Josef Gabčík, of Slovak origin, and Jan Kubis, Czech by nationality. They received special training in the UK, including training in shooting, explosives, urban combat, camouflage, and survival in occupied territory. The parachute landing was carried out on the night of December 28th to 29th, 1941 in the Pilsen area, after which the group headed for Prague. For several months, the agents had been preparing an operation, changing apartments, hiding with the help of local underground workers, and collecting information about Heydrich's routes. The main difficulty was that the high official often changed the schedule and travel routes, but at the same time moved around the city without security. Self-confidence, which played a fatal role. Gabčík and Kubis decided to organize an attack on a narrow section of the road near the turnoff to Koloshovitskaya Street, where Heydrich's car was forced to slow down. At that time, he was traveling daily from his residence to Prague Castle along a route that included this turn. An ambush point was chosen there. They came to this place several times, checking the angle of visibility, measuring the braking time of the car. Their precision was military, but it was still a game of death, one of the Prague resistance members who supported the group later recalled. Hand grenades, pistols, and mines were prepared, but in the end, the main option was to use a Sten submachine gun and a handheld anti-tank grenade converted for street combat. Thus, by May 1942, the plan was finalized. It remains only to wait for the right moment. He became president on May 27, 1942. The morning of May 27, 1942 was clear. The 8th day of the week in Heydrich's calendar was clearly planned, a trip from his residence in the castle of Panensky Brzeziny to Prague Castle. As usual, he was driving unguarded in an open Mercedes-Benz 320 car. Next to him is the driver and bodyguard Johann Klein. At that time, Heydrich himself did not have a weapon with him. At the intersection of Koloshovitskaya and Volchkovskaya streets near the tram stop, Gabčík and Kubiš were standing around a bend in the road. They took up positions in advance. The site was chosen taking into account the fact that the car had to slow down due to a sharp turn. The signal for the start of the operation was given by underground worker Anna Malinova, who transmitted information that it was Heydrich's car that was approaching the turn. When the car slowed down, Josef Gabčík ran out onto the road and tried to shoot Heydrich with a Stingen submachine gun. However, the weapon misfired. The bullet did not come out of the chamber. Heydrich and his driver reacted immediately. The car stopped. At that moment, Jan Kubiš, who was standing on the opposite side of the street, threw a modified anti-tank grenade toward the car. The explosion was powerful. Shrapnel hit Heydrich, piercing the car's skin, seat, and part of the body. Kubiš himself was injured by the blast wave. Heydrich tried to get a weapon and pursue the attackers, but soon lost his strength. Gabčík and Kubiš, despite the gun mishap and injury, were able to escape. Local residents helped them, and then they were transferred to other members of the resistance. Heydrich was taken to the Bulovka hospital in Prague. Initially, the wounds were not considered fatal. Surgeons removed the fragments and parts of the seat upholstery that had entered the body. However, a few days later, a complication began. Sepsis developed. On June 7, 1942, 10 days after the assassination attempt, Reinhard Heydrich died of blood poisoning. The death of one of the top SS leaders caused a deep resonance in the leadership of Nazi Germany. On Hitler's orders, Heydrich was given a lavish state funeral in Berlin. Reinhard Heydrich's death caused a violent reaction in the Nazi leadership. Adolf Hitler took it as a personal insult and declared the need for an immediate and severe response. By his order, a large-scale punitive operation was launched in the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia, conventionally called retribution. A total blockade of the regions was imposed and mass arrests were carried out. As of June 1942, more than 13,000 people were detained as part of the repression, of which a significant part were subjected to interrogation, torture, and executions. The Gestapo and SS officers acted with extreme brutality, trying to identify the participants in Operation Anthropoid and members of their entourage. The most striking symbol of these repressions was the destruction of the village of Lidice, located 20 kilometers northwest of Prague. On June 9, 1942, on the orders of Himmler and Kaltenbrunner, the village was surrounded by SS and police units. All 173 men over the age of 15 were shot on the spot. The women were sent to Ravensbrück concentration camp, where many of them died. The children were separated. Some were sent to Germany for re-education based on race. The rest were strangled in gas trucks at the Chelmno concentration camp. Then houses, a school, a church, and outbuildings were burned and demolished. The very name Lidice should have disappeared from the map. At the same time, other settlements associated with the resistance were destroyed, in particular, the village of Ležáky, where underground couriers were hiding. From the SES report, the measure of repression was intended not only to punish, but also to intimidate. The destruction of Lidice should enter the consciousness of the Czech people as a symbol of retribution for the blow to the Reich. The mass executions continued until the end of June. More than 1,300 people were executed, including women, priests, students, doctors, and former army officers suspected of having the slightest connection with the underground. Thus, the death of one of the main SS leaders led to one of the most brutal punitive actions in occupied Europe. After the successful implementation of Operation Anthropoid, Josef Gabčík and Jan Kubiš, as planned, hid in Prague, maintaining contact with the Czech resistance. They received temporary shelter in the Orthodox Cathedral of St. Cyril and Methodius on Reslova Street in the city center. In the crypt of the temple, along with them, there were other parachutists from the groups dropped into Czechoslovakia: Adolf Opálka, Josef Valčík, Jaroslav Schwarz, Jan Gruby, and Josef Bublik. For several weeks, the Gestapo had been actively searching for the perpetrators of the assassination attempt. Despite hundreds of arrests, the investigation did not have accurate information about the agents' whereabouts. However, everything changed on June 16, 1942, when Karl Schurda, one of the members of the parachute group outside, broke down under the pressure of repression and voluntarily surrendered to the Gestapo. In exchange for security, He gave out detailed information about the underground network and hiding in the temple. On the morning of June 18, 1942, about 800 SS, police and Gestapo soldiers surrounded the cathedral. A full-fledged siege was launched. The temple building was attacked using automatic weapons, grenades, and water pumps, which were used to flood the crypt. For more than 7 hours, the paratroopers fought a fierce battle from an underground room, refusing to surrender. During the shootout, Jan Kubis was fatally wounded and died. The rest of the fighters, including Gabčík, committed suicide to avoid capture and interrogation. Later, the Gestapo found their bodies in a flooded crypt. The siege of the cathedral became the culmination of the struggle of the resistance agents. The Nazis held a public demonstration of the consequences of the terrorist act by exposing the bodies of the dead, destroying the shelter, and distributing photographs for propaganda purposes. The cathedral was closed, and the Archbishop of the Orthodox Church, Gorazd Pavlik, as well as other representatives of the clergy who helped the fighters, was arrested and shot. He was later canonized as a holy martyr. Operation Anthropoid was a unique example of a successful assassination attempt on one of the top leaders of Nazi Germany during World War II. Despite the harsh consequences and mass repressions, the liquidation of Reinhard Heydrich had important political, moral, and symbolic significance, both for occupied Czechoslovakia and for the international community. From a political point of view, the operation played a key role in the recognition of the Czechoslovak government in exile by the Western Allies. In particular, the United Kingdom and France officially withdrew their signatures to the 1938 Munich Agreement, declaring it invalid. This strengthened the position of Edward Benes and the legitimacy of his activities. Friends, that's all for today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like it, and write comments. Have a great day, everyone.